Hello there. So, if you know, I'm a big fan of the battle packs and especially these 501st battle packs. So, I've ended up with another one and the turret was amazing, but there was definitely something that could have been added and improved to it. And that is why today we'll be taking a look at my alternate build for it. Now, it's not just this ATRT Walker though. This is probably the main part of the alternate build, as the battle pack would have been great to include an ATRT Walker. It is a similar size to the one that I've built out of the old 501st battle pack, the £30 one, which of course a bit more expensive but did come with a few more bricks than this one. So I'll be comparing them. They're roughly similar scaled, so I've tried to make this minifigure scale, but indirectly. I didn't mean to do it, but the more I kept building it, I tried to keep it the same size, and as you can see, the legs actually have the bend in the corner, which was something missing from the last one, as there just weren't enough pieces to have it. So it does look really cool. The minifigure actually doesn't clip down, which has its benefit, as the clones that ride the ATRT walkers don't have their legs out in front of them and rather have them down each side of the walker. So it sort of worked in my favour that he doesn't clip down. I have added this plate in this panel piece with the middle leg bit so that he doesn't fall straight into that usual minifigure stance. You can just remove that if you wanted to clip him down. However, I think this just looks a bit more accurate with his legs at the angle. But the legs of the actual walker are, again, different hinge pieces, so they've added that bend in them. They're not too sturdy because right at the bottom we've got this hinge brick, which is great. It has the two toes either side of the foot. Would have been even better if it had something sticking out in the middle, though I'm just being picky at this point. And because it's got the hinge, it doesn't stand up too well. I mean, if you get it at the right angle, you can stand up the walker, but if I put any force down, such as putting this minifigure in, you can see eventually it's just going to tip over and chuck him back out. So it's not as bad as it looks. Of course, you've got a little bit, but as soon as he goes, the whole thing goes, and because he's leaning on the hinges, there's nothing to proper support it. If you have your own pieces, of course, you can make the feet out of these different hinges, which aren't the clip and bar, but are rather the more Technic hinges. So them joints are a lot more sturdy, but I am building this as an alternative build, so I'm not going to add too many of my, well, in fact, I haven't added any of my own pieces. The only exception would be for this piece so that I can show you it can stand. And this is how I display it, because I'm constantly knocking into my displays and knocking things over, so I just need that extra bit of sturdiness just to keep my build from falling. And I think this is a bit easier to have than the extra joints on the foot, because if you do have the extra hinge pieces, you're going to have to completely remodel the foot, whereas this is just a little add-on that you can clip in. And even if you're filming some sort of stop motion, this is easier to cut out than any other supports. I've said that this isn't the only build I've made, and it isn't, so what else have I built to go with the ATRT Walker? Well, you can see I've used a lot of the pieces. You've even got a little spot for binoculars and the pistol on the back, and I've tried to recreate the antenna at the back. You've got this stud fire that acts as a laser out front, but we haven't actually used the flick fire brick. So I was starting to create a command post, something that would go well in a battle pack with the ATR Walker, and thought instead I could create this little turret that not only houses the flick fire missile and looks cool. I've tried to add something on the back, because not only was this piece spare, but also it does look a little odd when it's just the bar sticking out. But if you fire this, you can see it does work as a sort of turret, and you've even got the bar sticking out to the side. So supposedly this would have to have been brought back, but this does work for a long range weapon. You see them in Book of Boba, the Tuscans use them. You don't see them with the clones, though. I do suppose if the clones had them at hand, they'd definitely be using them to knock back all the droids. And this is more of a long range weapon, I'd say. It shoots a blaster as far as it can. So I have stuck this with this specialist here, which is a very nice minifigure. The minifigures I haven't changed. There is something I would like to change for them, but we'll get into that right at the end of the video, as it is really not necessary. And we're focusing, of course, on the alternate build. So we have the ATRT, we have the little turret here, and with the final few pieces, I've shimmied them together and created this table piece, which you don't really see a table in Star Wars, but you do have two more minifigures, so to busy them, perhaps they're at the table playing cards or something. It's a nice short table. It is sort of minifigure height, and you can clip this in around your MOC. Perhaps this is the command post, which they're discussing tactics, but the problem with the minifigures is these are too heavy minifigures. I'd have liked an assault, but as I've said, it's an alternate build. Let's focus on the build. So the turret and table are quite nice, and this is the ATRT Walker that I created with the last 501st Battle Pack, and you can see how similar in height they are. Obviously, this one has the one brick as the legs, which means you can't bend them, and the newer model does have the bendable legs, so you can position them a bit differently to the other one. But they are roughly the same size. I suppose this one's got higher back, and if I was to stand them next to each other, yeah, they're the same size. And for sturdiness, this is the one. You can move it around, you can rock it, and it does in fact rock on its feet. And overall, I think both of these have their problems. Of course, this one is a bit wider and this one's not as sturdy, but for an alternate build, I do really like this ATRT. If you're collecting a few of these battle packs, as I am, you could have a few turrets, of course, for your MOCs, but definitely look at building this ATRT. And even if you had a few of them and didn't want to make a minifigure scaled ATRT, I'm sure you could make a bigger one, add a few more hinges in for the feet, and if that's something you're really interested in, let me know in the comments and I'll make another alternate MOC, or perhaps I can do one for the 332nd battle pack. But with the minifigures, now that we've quickly compared them, the set does come with two of these heavy troopers, which is quite nice because we don't get these in other sets, and I assume they'll probably be exclusive to this battle pack. But as it's a Battlefront 2 battle pack and it's based on the characters from them, not only is the gun not the typical gun you'd use in the game, but also we tend to have an assault class alongside the heavy, specialist and officer. Now the assault class is really just a plain 501st trooper, so perhaps it would have been nice to get one in here, but with the inclusion of another heavy, it can make it more of a realistic battleground, as you probably in fact already have a few regular 501st, so you can have two of them, two of these heavies, an officer and a specialist. And now you've got 6 minifigures instead of the 4 that you would have had if they didn't include 2 of these heavies. So it's nitpicking a little bit, and with the weapon, it would have been nice to have seen just a regular blaster with this black candle piece on the end. I think that would have represented it a bit more. They could have even added a little white piece because there's a white ring that goes around it. But I am a fan of these weapons, as I think we only really get them with either Boba Fett or the Dark Troopers. That is pretty much it for my alternate build. We'll take a bit of a closer look. I feel like I've skipped over a few of the techniques, and if you do want to build it yourself, I have made use of all of the bracket pieces. Underneath these angled pieces are the 1x2 brackets, and you got the 2x2 bracket pieces here. On the front, I've layered them up so that you can get the nice curve to the front, and it would have been nice if I could continue the curve over, though there was no real way of doing it, so I've instead used the curves to add some dimensions onto the legs. We don't have the round dish pieces that we got with the last battle pack, so I was unable to add them specific details, though this here is just a 1x1 with the clip, so you could always add a 1x1 bracket and just put a little dish on there, and perhaps something similar if you work the feet differently. I've also used the 2x4 brackets, the big ones, just on the side here to create it nice and flush and just widen the head a little bit, which is why this one doesn't look as off-sized as the other one, which definitely is a bit bulky and has much of a skinnier head than the new one. So I think I definitely prefer the old one, though if you haven't picked up these battle packs or just want another build to create with the new one, definitely look at this ATRT. It is a fun little build and makes use of the pieces whilst you're not. So let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and if you did like this, let me know by dropping a like, and I'll be sure to make many more alternative builds, and perhaps they'll get a little better over time, as this one does look a bit plain, though perhaps that is the grey pieces we got in the battle pack. So stay tuned, drop a like, do subscribe so you don't miss out on more of my LEGO content, and may the bricks be with you always.